349. What if I told you the most potent natural medicines don't need soil, fertilizer or gardening skill, just a glass jar and tap water? For thousands of years, healers cultivated pharmacy gardens that required land, labour and luck. But they overlooked something. The most resilient medicinal plants propagate in pure water, growing roots that concentrate healing compounds in ways soil never could. Today, science is validating what survival cultures knew. Water-grown medicine is faster, cleaner, and in some cases more bioavailable. I'm counting down 10 medicinal plants that thrive in only water, ranked by how powerfully they combine ancient healing traditions with modern clinical proof. By number 1, you'll never see your kitchen windowsill the same way. This isn't theory. This is a ranked countdown based on 3 criteria: medicinal potency validated by research, historical significance across cultures, and the sheer surprise that these plants grow hydroponically. We're escalating from familiar healing herbs to forgotten pharmacological powerhouses that seem impossible to cultivate soil-free. At number 4, a plant banned by colonial governments because it made indigenous populations too medicinally self-sufficient, and it roots in 72 hours. And number 1 was used by battlefield medics in 3 different wars because it worked when pharmaceuticals ran out. It grows in a mason jar. Number 10, mint, the digestive foundation. You know mint as a garnish or tea ingredient, but the Ebers Papyrus from 1550 BCE prescribed it for stomach ailments. Greco-Roman temples used it as a strewing herb to purify air and aid digestion during feasts. Modern clinical studies show menthol, mint's primary compound, reduces IBS symptoms by relaxing smooth muscle in the GE tract. Mechanistic evidence confirms rosmarinic acid exhibits anti-inflammatory activity throughout the digestive system. Use fresh leaves in tea, chew them for nausea, or infuse the oil for topical headache relief. Peppermint has higher menthol content than spearmint. Cuttings root in 5 to 7 days in indirect light. One safety note: avoid therapeutic amounts if you're prone to acid reflux, as mint relaxes the lower esophageal sphincter. Take a cutting, put it in water, and you've got perpetual digestive support. Number 9, basil, the adaptogenic culinary. In Ayurveda, holy basil, called tulsi, is worshipped as the incomparable one, used for respiratory infections and stress. Ancient Greeks called it basilikon, meaning royal, and applied it to wounds. Research shows eugenol, basil's key compound, has antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. Studies on holy basil specifically demonstrate cortisol-modulating effects, earning it adaptogen classification. It helps your body manage stress at the hormonal level. Use fresh leaves in cooking, brew them as tea, or make a poultice for insect bites. Purple varieties like red rhubarb have higher anthocyanin content. Change the water weekly to prevent rot. Holy basil may lower blood sugar, so diabetics should monitor levels. A single sprig from the grocery store becomes a renewable pharmacy. If you want to build a hydroponic pharmacy that costs nothing and requires 0 gardening experience, subscribe now. The next 8 plants get exponentially more powerful, and I'm documenting every propagation method that actually works. Number 8, lemon balm, the anxiety eraser. The Persian physician Avicenna prescribed it in the 11th century to make the heart merry. Carmelite monks created Carmelite water, a lemon balm tincture, in 1611 for nervous disorders. A 2004 clinical trial showed lemon balm extract improved calmness and memory in healthy adults. The mechanism: rosmarinic acid modulates GABA receptors, the same anxiolytic pathway targeted by pharmaceutical anti-anxiety drugs. Use it as tea, tincture, or topical oil for cold sores. It has antiviral properties. Harvest before flowering for peak volatile oil content. Roots establish in 10 to 14 days in bright indirect light. This is clinical-grade calm growing in a drinking glass. Number 7. Oregano, the antibiotic imposter. Hippocrates used it as an antiseptic and for respiratory and GI illness. Ancient Greek soldiers carried oregano poultices for battlefield wounds. Carvacrol, oregano's primary compound, shows antibacterial activity against E. coli and Salmonella in laboratory studies. Research demonstrates antifungal properties comparable to some pharmaceutical agents. Use infused oil topically for fungal infections, steam inhalation for congestion, or strong tea for sore throat. Greek oregano has 4 times the carvacrol of common varieties. Mediterranean climate equals higher potency. Concentrated oil is caustic, so always dilute for topical use. This is why grandmothers swore by it. The chemistry backs the folklore. Here's what most people miss about water propagation. When you grow medicinal plants hydroponically, you're not just skipping soil, you're sometimes increasing bioactive compound density. Without soil, there are no pathogens competing for resources. Nutrient stress triggers the plant to concentrate defensive compounds, the same compounds we use medicinally. Water isn't a compromise. In some cases, it's an upgrade. Number 6. Sweet potato vine, the blood sugar moderator. This was a staple in the Okinawan longevity diet, used traditionally for stabilizing vitality. Pre-Columbian Andean cultures added leaves to broths for sustained energy during labor. Japanese studies show sweet potato leaves contain polyphenols that improve insulin sensitivity. Clinical evidence demonstrates leaf extracts reduce postprandial glucose spikes in type 2 diabetics. Use young leaves raw in salads, steamed, or in stir-fry, not the tuber in this context, the leaves. Purple varieties have higher anthocyanin levels. Ornamental vines work. Just use pesticide-free stock. No known contraindications. This is a nutrient-dense green that regulates blood sugar and grows from a grocery store sweet potato in a jar of water. Number 5. Coleus, the metabolic accelerator. Ayurvedic texts describe Makandi for heart and lung tonics. Traditional Indian medicine used it for digestive and urinary health. Forskolin, a compound in the root, has been studied for CAMP activation. It affects fat metabolism and muscle mass. Clinical trials show modest weight loss and increased lean body mass in overweight men. Use leaves in tea, it has a mild bitter flavour. Traditionally, roots were dried and powdered, but that's harder to access. The ornamental Coleus common in nurseries is related, but not the same as Coleus forscoli, the true medicinal variety. The medicinal variety is harder to source but viable in water. May lower blood pressure, so avoid if you're on antihypertensives, the compound that pharmaceutical companies synthesize. It's sitting in this plant. If you're wondering whether this is actually practical or just botanical theory, 3 of the next 5 plants are currently being tested in hospital trials for post-surgical care. This isn't nostalgia, this is rediscovery. Number 4. Katuk, the lactation liberator. In Southeast Asian traditional medicine, nursing mothers consumed katuk leaves to increase milk supply. Vietnamese and Malaysian midwives called it essential postpartum green. Studies show increased prolactin levels in lactating women. It's high in vitamin K, calcium and protein, rare for a leafy green. Use fresh leaves in soup, smoothies or sautéed. They have a mild pea-like flavour. Tender shoot tips propagate fastest. Needs warmth above 65 degrees to root. Historical caution, large amounts of raw leaves consumed daily were linked to bronchiolitis obliterans in 1990s Taiwan. Cooking neutralizes the risk. Moderate use is safe. This plant was so effective at making populations medicinally self-sufficient that colonial administrations discouraged its cultivation. They wanted dependence on imported medicine. Katuk made that impossible. The suppression of traditional plant medicine wasn't accidental. Colonial governments and early pharmaceutical lobbying in the 1900s systematically marginalized herbalism that worked too well. If people could grow their own postpartum care, wound treatment, and metabolic support, they didn't need prescriptions. The plants that survived that suppression, they're the ones we're counting down. Number 3. Ginura, the diabetic's forgotten ally. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's called Bai Bing Cao, 100 disease grass, Malaysian folk remedy for hypertension, kidney disease, and blood thickness. A 2013 clinical study in Malaysia showed significant reduction in fasting blood glucose and HbA1c in type 2 diabetics. Mechanistic research reveals flavonoids inhibit alpha-glucosidase, which slows carbohydrate digestion. In studies, participants ate 2 to 3 fresh leaves daily, or consumed them as juice or tea. Purple-backed varieties, Ginura bicolor, have higher anthocyanins. Roots in 7 to 10 days even in low light. May potentiate diabetes medications. Monitor blood sugar closely. This is pharmaceutical-grade glucose control from a plant most people have never heard of. Number 2. Sambung Nyawa, the wound closer. The Malay name translates to continuation of life. Indigenous healers in Borneo applied crushed leaves to machete wounds and burns. In vitro studies show extracts accelerate fibroblast proliferation. the cells responsible for wound healing. Anti-inflammatory markers are reduced in animal models of acute injury. Use as a poultice with crushed fresh leaves, infused oil for topical application, or tea for internal inflammation. Same genus as number 3, but a different species. Both are viable. Look for vigorous, pest-free cuttings. External use is well tolerated. Internal use carries the same cautions as number 3. This plant closed wounds in jungle conditions with no antibiotics. It still does. Number 1. Longevity spinach, the cellular protector. Okinawan centenarians consume it as cholesterol spinach. It's recorded in Chinese Materia Medica for cooling the blood, dispelling stasis. Research on its polyphenol content shows high O-RAC value, antioxidant capacity that rivals pharmaceutical-grade supplements. Pilot studies suggest improved lipid profiles and reduced oxidative stress markers. It's currently in phase 2 trials in Asia for metabolic syndrome support. Use it raw in salads, 2 to 3 leaves, blend in smoothies, or lightly steam. Thrives in water indefinitely. One cutting can supply a household for months. Tropical origin but adapts to indoor temperatures. Same cautions as number 3. Monitor if diabetic or on blood thinners due to high vitamin K. This is the plant that battlefield medics in the Pacific Theatre used when morphine ran out and wounds wouldn't close, not because it was placebo, because polyphenols modulate inflammation and cellular repair at the mitochondrial level. It worked then, it works now. And it grows in a mason jar on your counter. For most of human history, medicine grew in gardens that only the land-rich could tend. But the plants that survived colonization, displacement, and forgetting, they adapted. They learned to root in water, propagate without soil, and concentrate their healing compounds in ways that don't require wealth or acreage. Modern research isn't discovering new drugs. It's validating what survival cultures refined when they had nothing but cuttings and clean water. Your windowsill isn't a garden. It's a laboratory that's been running the same experiment for 10,000 years. Start here. Take a mint cutting from a grocery store bunch. Put it in a clear glass jar with 3 inches of tap water. Place it in indirect sunlight. In 7 days, you'll have roots. In 14 days, you'll have a plant that never needs soil and will supply you with digestive medicine indefinitely. That's the proof of concept. Everything else on this list follows the same physics. Which of these 10 are you propagating first? And are you growing it for a specific health goal, or just to see if it works? Tell me in the comments.